So Eileen Kelligan from the CEO, you're very welcome back on to the Leaving Cert Guidance podcast.
Thanks for having me, Donica.
Well, it's great to have you on, Eileen, and get your expertise in all things CEO. And the CEO, we were kind of just talking, is become a year-round thing now. You were literally just finished 2021 rounds when the 2022 CEO opened back up.
Yeah, I think we had just over 2 weeks between close of 2021 season and 2022 starting. So it's all go. You get confused what year it is in here sometimes.
Yeah, I'd say that, yeah. So there has been a few changes for 2022, particularly to the CAO website. Could you tell our listeners what those changes were?
Yeah, so we changed the homepage of the website slightly just to make it a little bit easier for applicants and their parents and guidance counsellors and everybody to find all of the resources on our website. So, I suppose for some applicants, they mightn't have been familiar with the website before now anyway, so they won't notice it. But for some, you may notice just a slight change with the blocks on the homepage there. For applicants, if you click into the applicants box, you'll find everything in there from video guides to information on exemptions, information on restrictions, change of mind, and so on. So it's definitely important, from an applicant perspective, to click in there and become familiar with all of the, if you have a question, if you're unsure about something, it would probably be dealt with in the applicants box. And then for any parents who are watching the parents section, we have a parents guide. And a couple of things that would be of interest to you as a parent. So a link to the video guides and the demo application form, and also, link to the handbook and so on. So just trying to simplify everything for applicants as much as possible and make sure that you're familiar with all of the resources. We also added in a box for further education and training and apprenticeships. And if you click on this box, it will bring you to a page where it will give you your options from further education, apprenticeships, and higher education. If you click on higher education, you will be brought to the courses page on the CAO website for all of the courses that you can apply for through CAO. And if you click on the further education box, you will be brought to fetchcourses.ie, where you can search the courses that have been made available on that website. And if you click on the apprentice box, you can go to apprenticeship.ie and find out information there. So you cannot apply for further education or apprenticeships through the CAO website, but you can find all of this information. So it'll help you when you're trying to make a decision on what you want to do when you finish school, and just be aware of all of the different options that are available to you, not just through CAO.
Yeah, I suppose when you're doing that research, it's kind of a one-stop shop now. If you're looking at your CEO, you might see, there's FETs there and apprenticeships. So have a quick look at those while I'm here, which is great. And you did mention the demo application. I think as a guidance counsellor, I have to really stress to students how great of a resource this is, because they're always worried that they're going to make a mistake. They're not sure what they're going to be asked or what the application is going to entail. So I always say, go on and do the demo application. Have a little look. It's ideal. It's a brilliant resource. So I was at the CEO conference this year, and there was advice given to guidance counsellors. So for anyone's listening, there's a guidance counsellors conference put on by the CEO. It's brilliant. And they gave some advice for applicants for 2022. And the first one, Eileen, was students should check all correspondence and emails from the CEO. Can you talk about that one?
Yeah, I mean, if I could have some flashing lights and and warning sounds to accompany me when I'm giving this message out, it would be great. So everybody's so focused on their exams and, getting those excellent results in order to obtain whatever it is that they want to do after they finish school. But please don't let all that hard work be in vain by not checking your emails for correspondence from CAO. So we email applicants. So when you register first, you'll get an email from CAO, and it'll have your application number and a verification code. So it's important to verify your email address. Make sure that emails are going to the correct email address for starters. If your emails from CAO are redirecting into your spam or your promotional folders, as can be the case sometimes, make sure to address that and just mark them as not spam so that you're getting the notifications for them. I am aware that a lot of you probably have hundreds of notifications coming in through your email account from everything you've signed up for and subscribed for throughout the year. So in this instance, do keep an eye out for CAO emails, but in your account, when you log into your CAO application, there's a correspondence section. And in that correspondence section, all of the emails that CAO have sent to you are recorded there. So get into the habit of logging into your account and checking the correspondence section to make sure that there isn't anything you might have missed. And do keep an eye out for your emails. Find some way to mark those CAO emails so that you're getting a notification for them when they do come in. And it's not just CAO who will email you. Sometimes the institutions that you have applied to will email you. They may have some additional assessment or something that you have to complete for the institution. So it's really important to check for this. Other times that you'll receive an email from CAO, I'm not going to list all of them because every applicant can be slightly different. There may be something that we spot on your account and we may email you. But as regards bulk emails, we'll send some reminders, when a deadline is coming up, like for just coming up to the 1st of February, or to encourage you to put in your course choices. But the most important email is the statement of application email, which goes out in May. In the past, this used to go out by post, but now it's going out by email. And it's a prompt to make sure that you log into your account to check and double check and triple check that all of your information is correct. And it goes out in May. I think it started going out on the 10th of May last year, or well, this year, but for last year's applicants. So at some point in May, the email will go out. You will log into your account. You'll follow the instructions in that email, which are basically to check, are all your personal details correct? And most importantly, are your examination details correct? A lot of people will assume that for example, if you're doing the Leaving Certificate this year, a lot of people think that, the CAO and the SEC are linked or in some way the one organization, but you need to check that the exam number. So when you're making your application first, if you're doing the Leaving Certificate this year, you won't have your CAO or your Leaving Cert exam number. So you'll tick a box to let us know that is how you want your application to be assessed. And there's a matching process that takes place between CAO and the State Exams Commission. But when you log into your account in May, you have to check the number that's on your account matches the number that State Exams have sent to you. Do not assume because there's a Leaving Cert exam number there recorded for you that it's correct. Get the number that you receive from the State Exams, compare it to what we have in your account. And if there's an error, and there are errors at times, there are times when there is an incorrect number there, or there is no number recorded for you. Now, May is your chance to get back to CAO and to update your exam number. So, it's fine when you find out in May, but you do not want to be in the position in August, if it's August that the offers come out, where you realize that either your exam number was missing or it was incorrect. And then you've missed out on an offer in round 1 and you have to update your information in time for round 2. And you cannot be guaranteed an offer in round 2 if your examination information was correct. The colleges will do their best to facilitate you, but really, you cannot be guaranteed. So check the exams, and if you have an exemption, check that your exemption is recorded. Make sure there's nothing missing or incorrect in your account that might mean you miss out on a place in round 1. Anybody who might be repeating the Leaving Certificate, make sure that all sittings of the Leaving Certificate are recorded, that the year is correct and the exam number is correct. And I mean, there are obviously other applicants who are probably watching or listening today that are applying on the basis of other qualifications. So you might be applying as a mature applicant, so you might be having to check other elements of the form, not just Leaving Certificate number. Or if you're a QQI applicant, make sure your PPSN is correct. And then in May, there's a facility there where if there is an error, you can click in and update your information online. So it's very straightforward. And then you'll be asked to confirm that your account information is correct. So don't just get the email, log into your account, scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on confirm. Only confirm if you've checked that everything is complete and correct. Because that did happen. We did have some applicants who had confirmed that their account information was correct when in fact it wasn't. Sometimes then some people neglect to follow this instruction in May, or there are updates, or there is something that's spotted, and CAO may email again. And last year, we were emailing some applicants in July to say that, either we think you've forgotten to include something in your account, or, can you please check your account is correct, your information is correct. And some applicants didn't get these emails and failed to act on them, and then as a result missed out on an offer in round one. So I hope I'm not scaring you all too much, but it's just to show the importance that if you log in, read the email, follow the instructions, and check for emails. Don't just say it's May, it's June, I've done my exams, I'm finished, I'm off the hook now until August. Your application is still being processed right up until the offers are coming out. So please do log in and check those emails. And I hope I haven't gone on too long about that, but it is so important. And this year, there were a number of applicants who had no Leaving Cert exam number recorded on their account. And thankfully, I think they were dealt with in round two, but as I said, it's not always a given that you will be, and it's a long wait.
So would that be the most common mistake from an applicant, is forgetting to go back in? So say I open up mine now and I get my CAO number, but I don't think I get my Leaving Cert number till the end of January, and I forget to go back in and put it in. Is that the most common mistake a CAO applicant can make?
It would be one of the most common, that they haven't logged in when they got their exam number, logged in May to check that the exam number is recorded correctly. So that would be one of the very common ones, yes. Or not informing us of all qualifications. So maybe you might have somebody who has QQI qualification and Leaving Cert, but they forget to supply the PPSN. Or the other one being those who have multiple sittings of the Leaving Certificate, only maybe giving us one Leaving Cert exam number. We need to know the exam number for each year, and not just the most recent one.
And you said something there as well. I think this is interesting because, again, I know students that open up their account, put in their courses, and then kind of don't log back into the account at all. But you said kind of make it a regular thing that you pop back into your account, you check out the correspondence, the emails, whatever the case may be.
Yes, definitely. Log back in, particularly, before the change of mind closes, is one that we would have always advised, that even if you started your application and you did it in January and you didn't change your mind in the intervening period, there's still no harm in just logging back in before that 1st of July deadline to make sure that you're happy with all of the courses that you've listed and that you had them listed in the correct order. You'll obviously be logging in May to check, when you get the prompt about the statement, but you should also log in again in June and July, but keep an eye on your emails. So that, I guess, you log into your account to check your correspondence section, but for more timely updates, just keep an eye on the email notifications from CAO.
And it's dead easy and quick to log in. It's just your number, your date of birth, and your password. Now, I have to say, I've had a few students who've forgotten their password. So if you can keep your password somewhere safe. But
it's easy to reset your password anyway. Yeah. And one problem that people encounter sometimes is they get locked out of their account because they have entered the wrong password or wrong date of birth too many times and they get locked out. Now, if that happens during business hours, you just email CAO and we'll unlock the account. But if it happens in the evening time, the account will be automatically unlocked overnight. So you can go back in and try again the next day. And that's all fine if this happens, you just, December or in the middle of May or whatever. But if it's coming up to a deadline, so if you suddenly get locked out of your account on the 1st of July and you want to get in and change your courses, this could pose a problem for you, which is why we always say don't leave everything to the last minute, because you do not want to miss out on making a change or a correction because you left it to the last minute. And don't start your application at 5 to 5 on the 1st of February. Please don't put yourself under that unnecessary stress. Get the application in early. Putting off starting an application, I think a lot of it is, there's no reason why you wouldn't have the application started before Christmas. that why you wouldn't get your CAO application number, you don't need to put in your courses. In order to get the number, you don't mention courses anywhere. So all you need are your personal details and your payment details, and to tick a box to let us know how you want your application to be assessed. So it's really, there's nothing to stop you doing it, and it's cheaper if you do it before the 20th of January. So that would be my advice anyway. And don't put yourself under the stress of being one of the, and people do apply on the 1st of February, and they do apply at 5 to 5, but I don't think anybody watching or listening to this podcast will be one of those people.
No, well, like early bird means it's €30 and it's 45 after the 20th of January. So even to save yourself a few quid, I couldn't see why you wouldn't do. It doesn't even take that long to set up an account. You'd be done in a few minutes. I think
just don't autofill.
Don't autofill. Okay, good advice.
Well, I don't even know if that facility, if you're actually allowed to do that, but I have that a lot with stuff that I'd be filling out, and it autofills. But you'd want to be careful when you're doing the CAO application to type everything in carefully, because that's the number or that's the name that will be beside your application. Date of birth, actually, Donncha, if I can just be very bold and take this opportunity. So many people put in an incorrect date of birth, and I don't know what it is. If it's somebody else maybe starting an application, maybe a parent is doing it and they have the wrong date of birth for their child, or if they're putting their own date of birth in instead of their child's. And sometimes people put in the day that they're applying, they get confused and they put down the current day's date. So anyway, just be careful, because when you are logging into your account, you need your date of birth and your password and your account number. So people will be on to us then saying, I've got the correct password and I've got my correct CAO number and I can't log in. And it's generally because they're using the wrong date of birth. So just a little
I'd say if you're allowed, tell the stories of some of the things you've seen. So the second thing at the CEO conference that came up was, and again, this comes up every year, students ask me as well, when it comes to the offer stage, students can often be hesitant, say in round one, to accept an offer that was lower down on their list in case they don't get an offer in subsequent rounds. So what's the story around that?
Yeah, we get that. That's one of the most common questions that I get at the offer stage. And if you receive an offer, you should firstly look at that offer as potentially the only one you might get, because there's possibly only 2,000 to 3,000 offers issued in round two. So you can't be guaranteed of a round two offer. There's no reason why you shouldn't accept, unless you really don't like the course and you have absolutely no intention of doing that course, obviously. But accepting your say your fourth preference in round one will not prevent you from being considered or from receiving an offer of a higher preference in a later round if you're deemed eligible. So if in round two you suddenly became, a place became available and you were next on the waiting list for your second preference course, for example, then you would receive an offer of the second preference regardless of whether you had accepted the first round offer. Or if you hadn't accepted the first round offer, it doesn't matter. If you're eligible for a higher preference offer in a later round, you'll receive that offer, and then you can decide to accept it, which will automatically cancel the previous acceptance. Or you can do nothing if you wanted to continue with the course that you'd already accepted. But definitely there's uncertainty. People are afraid to click accept in case this means that they'll be out of the running for anything else. So don't be worried about that. Accept the course. If you decide down the line you don't want to do it, you can cancel that acceptance as well. So.
Yeah, so it's great, and it gives you a few options there as well. That look, I can stay where I am, or I can decide to move up. So you're in a really good position there as well if you do get. Yeah. We actually had an admissions officer on earlier on in the year, and he was saying that generally 98% of the course places are filled in the first round. So he was kind of saying I wouldn't be waiting around looking for subsequent round offers because they might not come. And then the third and final thing that was mentioned at the CEO conference was genuine order of preference. And this is something I talk about every year, but it'll be fresh to 6 years this year. What exactly is genuine order of preference?
Yeah, so genuine order of preference is, to put it as simply, is just listing your courses from 1 to 10 with your favorite course in first place, your second favorite in second place, and so on, right the way down to number 10 on your level 8 and on your level 7-6 list. Fill out as many of the options on both lists as possible. particularly don't forget about your level 7-6 list, because a lot of the courses on the 7-6 list will have progression pathways into level 8 courses. So don't rule that out. It will give you plenty more options at the offer stage. Don't apply any kind of logic to listing your courses. Some people do, I think, but if you just think of it as your dream course in first place, your second favorite course in second place, and so on, right the way down. Nobody will know what the points are going to be. We've seen that in the last couple of years, how much points can change. Now, obviously, they were exceptional years, but points can fluctuate for a variety of reasons. So we'll leave the pandemic out of it, but in a normal year, points will fluctuate. For starters, the number of people who apply for the course, the number of places that are available. So the number of people who apply for a course, the course might be more popular one year than the next, or less popular. The number of places, the HEI may suddenly have an extra 10 or 15 places on a course, or they may have fewer places. So they will all impact on points. And the performance of applicants in a given year. We've seen the impact of that last year, so it's basically, there are those three factors that can impact points for a course. Courses can fluctuate either way by 30 or 40 points, sometimes more. So I tend to tell applicants try and not get too bogged down by the points when they're listing their courses. If you put the course highest up in your list, that you'll get the course highest up in your list that you're deemed eligible for. So that's we get people ringing us and at round one offers saying, I got my third preference, or I got my second preference course, but I didn't think I was going to get it. I would have actually preferred my third preference.
Yeah.
And this is the hardest one to deal with, because there's nothing you can do. If you got your second preference, you're not going to get your third preference, your fourth, or anything lower than it. You're either getting your second preference and maybe getting your first in a later round, but you're not going to go down the list. And why put the course down there if you didn't want it? Just putting it down there because it had high points and you thought you wouldn't achieve the place on it. It makes, it doesn't make any sense to have that course down there and to have it higher up than one that you really wanted.
Yeah.
But some people will rank courses based on the points, and based on their own kind of assessment of how well they think they're going to do. And it does, unfortunately, end up with people being disappointed and getting a course that they didn't actually want. So that's the only way I can kind of try and get the message across, is by using that example, and we do have so many contacting us, and it's really hard because they're like, they're saying to us, I have the points for that course, I really just want the third one, can I not just have it?
Yeah.
But that's not how our order preference system works. There's no moving down. Once you get a second preference, it can only be second or first, it can't be anything lower.
So you mentioned points there, and even a few of my own students wouldn't forgive me if I didn't ask you, but it is impossible to make a prediction on points. Like, even you who works in the CAO, right up until the last day, probably till the offers come out, you're probably not going to really know what the points are, because there's so many determining factors. So what is the outlook, I suppose, for 2022?
Gosh, I really can't answer that. And I know it's a question that everybody has. How points are determined for a course, I think some people think that the colleges will just come along and say that X course is going to be 350 points this year. And that's not actually how the courses, or how points are decided. So when you have, say, 100 applicants for a course, and first thing we'll do when the results come out is we'll check the 100 applicants for each course, or however many applicants for each course. So we'll take this example of one course that has 100 applicants. We will get their results and we'll check and see who meets the minimum entry requirements. And maybe 80 of the 100 will meet the minimum entry requirements. So then we calculate their point score for those 80 applicants for that course. And we place them all on a list, with the person with the highest scores going to the top of the list right the way down to number 80. And then the college will come to us and they'll say, we actually have 40 places on that course. And we will issue offers to the top 40 people on the list of applicants who were eligible. And the point score of the last applicant to receive an offer, so the applicant in 40th place, are the points that you will see published for round one. So you can see how, like, if their applicants perform better or not as well in a given year, then that points cut off for that course could be higher or lower. And that's how the points are decided. So really, until right up to the offers are coming out at 10 in the morning, you know, right up until just before that, HEIs are agreeing how many places they have on that course and how many offers to issue. So, you know, really it's impossible to predict until the offers issue. And there's no point in getting to kind of, I know it's easy to say when you're not the one sitting the exam or waiting on the offer, but there's no point in getting too worried about that. If you have your courses listed in order of preference, you will get the course highest up that you're deemed entitled to, and there's no amount of reading trends or trying to guess what the outcome is going to be. Just focus on reading your emails from CEO and making sure your information is all correct and that you're happy with the order of your courses, and everything else will sort itself.
You're absolutely right, even about the course places, like, because I know there was some courses very last minute got additional places last year in different healthcare ones. So it even is impossible for you guys to even know how many places are we even distributing. And we have our list, but we don't know how many. So like we said at the start, it is impossible, even if you're working within the CEO or working within the HEI, to let someone know what, you know, the points are going to be. Okay, so before we go on to the frequently asked questions, I want you to give some advice to students who have not signed up for the CEO just yet.
What is stopping you? Get it done before Christmas would be my advice. You know, there's so much uncertainty at the moment, and this is something that's straightforward. It's online. You can, you know, there's the requirements to obtain the CAO number to start are just personal details. Tick a box to let us know whether you're leaving Cert, or if you have more than one qualification, tick each box that's relevant to you. Make your payment, get your CAO application number, and then log back into your account, the My Application section, and become familiar with your account and start updating your information. So any additional information you have to supply. Start entering some courses at this stage. You don't have to, you know, but it's a good habit to get into. Maybe just think, oh, what's my dream course, and maybe put that and a second option down to start, just to get familiar with entering courses and editing the courses list. You will have until the 1st of February to keep logging back into your account to add your courses and to update your account information. If you are thinking of applying for a restricted course, get that down in your application before the 1st of February. If you happen to forget to put it down before the 1st of February, there is a window between the 5th of February and the 1st of March for a fee of €10. But again, you know, why pay the €10? Just get the course down on your application by the 1st of February. If in doubt about a restricted course, my advice is always to put it in. You can always remove it, but you cannot introduce it after the 1st. So if you're applying for either the HERE or the DARE schemes, definitely important to have started your application now. There's extra work to completing the HERE and DARE sections. So, you know, the online forms need to be completed, but gathering documentation can take some time. And we are in the middle of an ongoing pandemic, and things can take a little bit longer than they traditionally would have. So, you know, start the process of gathering your HERE DARE documentation before Christmas if you can. You have to have those documents into us by the 15th of March, you know, and you will require input for school leavers. You know, you'll require input from your guidance counsellor as well. So, you know, get that ball rolling early. Don't be, you know, running to your guidance counsellor at the last minute as well, looking for, because they have to assist a lot of other applicants. So it's important to to get that all started before Christmas if you can. Because, when we come back from Christmas, the 1st of February comes around very quickly. Yeah. And the 20th of January is the discounted application fee. That's €30. It goes up to 45 if you leave it to the 1st of February. So, and I think it's good to have started the form before Christmas and kind of use Christmas to be chatting to family and about your options and kind of spending a bit of time researching your options over the Christmas break.
So that 15th of March deadline doesn't mean you can have it in a lot earlier than that. If you have
it's not a target.
Yeah, it's not a target. Yeah.
So that's the last date that you can send them in, and the deadlines in the CAO are very strict. So I can't stress that enough. There is no bending the rules, or they're published deadlines, and they're strict in order to be fair to everybody. And that's why you can't expect to turn up on the 16th of March with your documents and that they'd be considered. So don't use those deadlines as a target. They're just there as final dates. But, so and all of our deadlines changed this year from to 5 p.m. They used to be 5:15 p.m.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah. So a couple of questions, kind of frequently asked questions. I know you'd mentioned the level 6 and 7. Why not fill out that list as well for a lot of the students? We actually had TU Dublin on 2 weeks ago talking about progression. They have 67 level 6 and 7 courses, with every one of them having a progression option. And we had a student on giving her story about how she started off on a level 6 and she's in her final year of the level 8 now. And so the brilliant options and opportunities within those. But a student did ask me, how does the CAO decide whether to give you your first choice between level 6 and 7 and level 8? How do they decide?
Well, at the offer stage, the two lists should be seen as two independent lists. So you have your level 8 list, you have your level 7/6. And the only time you have to choose between those lists is if you receive an offer of both in the same round. So at round 1, you may receive an offer of your first preference level 7/6, and you might receive an offer of your third preference level 8. So you've got two offers at round 1. You can only accept one, and you have to decide between them. So, that's very much the applicant's, decision to make whether they accept their first preference level 7/6 or, for example, their third preference level 8. If they accept their whichever one they accept, then if they accept the level 8 offer, the level 7/6 offer will lapse, obviously, and they'll be proceeding with the level 8. If they accepted, say if they had received their third preference level 7/6 offer at round 1 and their second preference level 8, and they accepted their second preference level 8 offer in round 1, their third preference offer off their level 7/6 list would lapse, but they would still be considered for their second and first preference on the level 7/6 in later offer rounds if a place became available. So 2 separate lists. The only time you choose is at the offer stage.
Yeah, so that's good, because often that can be a question as well. Look, if I take my level 8 4 choice, could I still be offered subsequent rounds in level 6 and 7? So that's good to know. And you kind of answered this question already, but is it a waste of time to put high points courses with lower on your list than a lower point course? So if it's very high and I have it number 3, is it a waste of time if a course has generally been quite low, but I prefer that one and put it number 2?
No, I mean, if that's you applying your order of preference, then, if you want the course with what you deem were the lower points in the previous year, say, if you want that more than the other higher points course, then, it should be higher up on your list, because you just put your dream course, the course you want most, in first place, second favorite in second, and so on, and try to avoid using the points. I mean, obviously, sometimes, yes, if you have your first preference course down and, it came in at 350 or something in the previous year, and then you put a 600 point course down in second place, or a course that was previously 600 points, if you get your, unless, if you got 600 points in the leaving certificate, it wouldn't matter. You'd still be getting your first preference course that you had that was down, that was 350 points the previous year. But if that's the course you really wanted, then that's perfect. That's what you should be doing. If it's your dream course, if it's the one you really want to study.
Sometimes
don't think you're wasting points.
I know, I was going to say, sometimes students think I've earned all these points, I need to spend them all,
Yeah, and points are not necessarily, an indication. They're not an indication of the quality of the course. It's more about the number of places that are available, the demand, and the performance of the applicants. And some high points courses can be high points because there might be only 15 or 20 places on them.
Yeah. Eileen, that's brilliant. I've got a feeling, Eileen, you and I will be talking again before the academic year is over, because you've given us some great advice, and even I've picked up a few tips there today. The 5 p.m. one is a very interesting one, so I'll have to note that. But Eileen, thank you so much for coming on, and a happy Christmas to you, and we'll talk to you in the new year.
Danica.
Thanks.
Best of luck. Bye-bye.